Hello, everybody. Hi, my name is Alexander Minkle, and what I'm going to be talking about here in this presentation is buying local pros and cons. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, my thesis that I came up with is buying locally offers significant health benefits, including better nutritional quality and safer supply chains, and it strengthens and gives back to the community. However, these advantages must be weighed against the economical and seasonal limitations that may reduce accessibilities for some consumers. So notice that I'm still showing both sides of the pros and cons. Now, after doing research, of course, from a purely health stance, if you're just talking about health, of course, I like local food. It touches less hands, goes through less processes, it's not manufactured. I'm going to get into it in this presentation. However, the whole economical and like where you live on and all these factors really, play a part in, whether it's worth it for you to always buy locally. So I just hope to educate you guys on that. So when buying local matters, local food systems connect health, environment, and community economics. People want fresher, safer, more transparent food options, especially here in America. You look on any back of chips or frozen aisle in grocery stores, all sorts of ingredients. People want, local, homegrown, and it supports the community. So, all right. So, there was a food study that local food networks improved both population health and local economic resilience. So that's a huge plus that people are improving their health, obviously, with the local food and natural grown and everything. And they're also improving, the economy. That people are supporting local businesses, giving jobs, and making a living and just moving around money. So that's good. And it's not giving it to big corporations. It goes back to the community. So that money could go anywhere. If you're paying taxes in that area, that could go back to the roads. It could go back to the electricity, the housing. It just all keeps the money right there in the community. Local food networks, farmers markets, gardens, and food hubs expand access to fresh produce, which encourages healthier eating patterns. So if you see all these local foods, you're probably going to end up eating healthier and having better health eating patterns. Now, talking about health outcomes, access to fresher, nutrient-rich, dense foods reduce risks of diet-related diseases and improves community dietary habits. That's kind of common sense. So, the more healthier foods you get, the more healthier you are. You are what you eat. So there's that benefit right here. Local food systems keep money circulating within the local economy, supporting farmers and creating local jobs. Now, this is where things start to get tricky. It's all perfect if we think about here in Southern California. There's so many people, there's so much farmland, and there's so much ability to, with the good weather, to grow so many different kinds of crops. However, now if you're an island out in the middle of nowhere, or you're, on maybe the East Coast or even just Eastern Europe, where things get really cold, now we're talking about you have certain seasons, that you can't grow certain crops, and it might not make sense. So limitations, here we go. We're getting into that right here, what I just said. Affordability challenges, policy barriers, reduced availability and accessibility, seasonal limits. So obviously, here in California, we get sunshine all the time pretty much, so it's much easier. We're spoiled, but, we're going to other parts of the country and out of the country. Might not make sense. All right. There was a study done by Friedman that farmers markets placed in community health centers, and I have my sources at the end. So, health centers to improve access in underserved populations. So this is a good thing right here. That we're improving access. So basically, it's not maybe the most local farmers markets. You're going more towards the inner city, and just kind of exposing it to them, that you can eat this way. You don't have to just go to the gas station or the grocery store and get processed foods. So health access markets at health centers increase fruit and vegetable availability for communities experiencing health disparities. So that's very good that more health centers are, getting local foods and fruits and vegetables in their health centers. Logistics, successful implementation depends on organizational capacity, social capital, and sustainable funding. It's not cheap. This is not like creating, a bag of chips in a factory. People need to have money, unfortunately, in an economy unless you're growing it yourself. So it does cost money. It does take work. So that we got to have the capacity to organize this. I wanted to do this study about how buying local supports economical development direct to consumer sales. So again, it's not like Amazon, where there's manufacturers, then Amazon's taking a cut, the manufacturer's taking a cut. Amazon used to not do their own shipping, used to have other people shipping, then the shipping takes a cut. So that's just an example of how so many people are taking cuts. This is just direct to consumers, straight back to the business, and that's the best kind of way that you want to do it. Local purchases support small firms, create jobs, and keep more revenue circulating locally than large-scale food chains. Yep, just what I just mentioned. So going to a barber shop, going to a food shop, increases the local revenue right here. Affordability issues. Local foods often cost more due to limited scale, creating financial barriers for lower income households. Donner and Lynch challenge the common belief that local food is always more expensive. So, it's actually not. If you look at the price of McDonald's nowadays, it's about $8 for a burger, and if you buy local with $8, you could get a lot of fruits and vegetables there. It's not always more expensive. Actual prices vary widely, so it's hard to pull exact prices. But if you go to your local food market, I challenge you guys to really go to the grocery store. We all know the grocery store is cheaper than restaurants, so even food markets are going to be cheaper than the grocery stores a lot of times. So they have a lot of deals, especially with like avocados, strawberries. I've been to Oxnard. There's a lot of strawberry stands, and it's a lot cheaper than the grocery stores and healthier. So pro summary: health benefits, fresher food, safer supply chains, community strength, local economic growth. Con summary: higher prices at times, seasonal limits, limited distribution set scale, and reduced access in low income communities. So it really depends where you're located. I understand for people that aren't in the best environment. Conclusion: buying local provides measurable health and economic benefits, but remains limited by cost, access, seasonality. Research suggests expanding markets, reducing price barriers, and improving education can increase participation. But then again, it very depends what environment you're in. These are my sources. And thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you.